Hey guys, this is the Chosen Ones podcast. I'm Huddy.
I'm Sam.
And we're here today with the man, the myth, the legend, Pierce Kreider.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Pierce, you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little about yourself, tell the viewers?
Sure, Sam. So my name's Pierce Kreider. I just graduated from Summit. I'll be going to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill next year. Played soccer and lacrosse, and I swam in high school. I'm going to be studying biology at North Carolina. I want to go to medical school. I'm just really excited to be on the show today, guys.
Well, we're really glad you came in. Obviously, great guy. Known you for a while now, it seems.
Yeah.
I'm looking really forward to today.
Today's episode's going to be good.
This kid's a treasure, for real. There's just so much going on with him in all good ways.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Huddy.
Okay, so you played lacrosse. Sadly, your senior season was canceled. Do you have anything you want to speak on about lacrosse? Anything you're glad that happened during your career?
Well, lacrosse has been my favorite sport. I've played lacrosse longer than any other sport that I've played. And I was really looking forward to this year. I lost over the past year and a half. I lost about 60 pounds, so I was really ready to go this season. I've been working hard. I was super ready to go. Unfortunately, the season got canceled. And so at the beginning of the season, we were able to get one scrimmage in. We played against Lakota West, and we kicked their ass. And I scored a couple goals. I was feeling good. But my knee was bothering me, and it had been for about a week before that scrimmage. So the next day, I went to an orthopedic surgeon just to get it checked out as a precaution. And I had a small tear in my patellar tendon in my right knee. So he said with some physical therapy and about 2 weeks rest, I should be good to go. So at first I was upset because I was going to miss the game against Walnut. And I really wanted to play against Walnut because...
you live by there, right?
I live by there, and my roommate at North Carolina next year actually goes to Walnut. He's a defenseman for Walnut, so it would have been a lot of fun for me to score some goals on him and be able to make fun of him for that next year. But I wouldn't have been able to play. So then when I got the news that everything was going to kind of be halted for 2 weeks, we thought it was just going to be 2 weeks off from school, 2 weeks off from sports. I was like, this is a great opportunity to be able to rehab my knee and get going and hit the ground running when the season does finally start. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I got some news today. Our coach texted us. We are July 17th at 6 o'clock. The coach from CHCA invited us to come up to CHCA and play a game and have a cookout with their players and fans and all that. So I'm 100% in for that. I haven't touched my lacrosse stick in a couple weeks, but a couple tosses, and as long as I keep in shape, I'm ready to go. And I think I speak for the rest of the team when I say we're pretty excited for that one, to just be able to get out there one more time, especially the seniors.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was kind of looking forward to watch you guys because you got some good seniors. Obviously, Davis, he's really good. BT's good. You're good. Derek's good. I wanted to watch a couple games.
We were going to turn some heads this year after a rather disappointing season last year. I think that we were gonna be a lot better than anybody gave us credit for this year, and I was excited to show people what we were about. So I don't know about our defense. It was on the younger side, but our offense. I mean, there were 4 of us that were seniors, or 5 of us that were returning seniors or starters, and if Davis was healthy, then that would be all 6 of our players on offense this year would either be seniors or returning starters. So I think we were going to be pretty good.
It would be fun with CHCA because, our student sections don't have the best history together.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And that's the thing, too, is against CHCA, maybe we can actually get large crowd to come watch that one. And they're going to recognize their seniors and our seniors as well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. And then grilling out afterwards if Mr. Yagodich is there. I mean, the food's going to be good.
That's a classic. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I feel like after every time we play CHA, they give you Gatorades, chocolate milk.
They take care of you.
They really take care of you.
People.
I really don't have any problem with CHCA. I know our student sections like to go at it, but that's just because both schools have a lot of school spirit. We've got we've good athletic traditions. We enjoy playing against each other, but it's always in good fun.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
This year at the basketball game, when we were chanting 1914 and stuff like that at one of their seniors who was dating a freshman or 8th grader. Mr. Dennis had to talk to some of us senior guys at Summit about that. They weren't too thrilled about the stuff that we were saying, but most of the time it's in good fun.
Oh yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
That'll be a good time.
Yeah, I think some of the problems are caused because we're so similar that we don't like to admit it.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Also, just like competitiveness, in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're playing CCD. But
Oh,
we
yeah.
at everything all the time.
That's
CHGA's
true.
got some pretty good athletes.
Great football.
Yeah.
We were all at that CCD Summit basketball game this year, right?
That was a lot of
Oh,
fun
yeah.
too. But
That's
again, that our student section might have got a little bit carried away with the talk about Alexander Pohl.
Yeah.
That's right.
And again, Mr. Dennis had to talk to me and some of the other guys about that. But I mean, as long as the student section's loud, I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm willing to get in trouble as long as the student section's loud and we play in front of a good environment. And Coach Fleming, that was the basketball coach this year, he really liked it. The players really liked it. They would talk. They would tell me, student section is great again tonight. We got to win for you guys, that kind of thing. Because our atmosphere was great even in losses.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember at that CCD game, I showed up at halftime. I was volunteering at the school for some college workshop, and I showed up, and they were getting killed, and I was like, all right, come on now. And we got pretty hyped that second half.
Yeah,
So and there was
they took the lead.
Yeah.
We took the lead.
Yeah, with a couple minutes to go, they took the lead. It was just close. And I mean, CCD had some pretty good basketball players this year. So.
Oh, yeah. That one kid was a stud. I can't remember his number.
One.
Yeah. He was.
1 and 0, I think, were both pretty good.
They were really good.
And then watching that game had me really excited because even when they were down so much, that group of players, our players, never really gave up. And I think that's a testament to what Coach Fleming brings to the table. And he just got hired at Summit actually to be a teacher in the resource department. But he's going to be a great presence in the building. Sad that I'm not going to be there with him at the same time. But he's an awesome guy and a great coach. And I think things are looking up for the Summit basketball program. I mean,
For
you guys
sure.
like Dalling, Gates,
Schuler.
Pickle, Schuler coming
Keenan.
back.
Shout out Keenan. He's gotten a lot better.
Schomburger, who was second place in the shots challenge last week, he got up over 1,700 shots last week, I think. And then a pair of twins.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard about that.
They're like what, 6'4",
6'5", both of them, 6'5".
That's solid. Height helps.
Yeah, could be a lot of fun. They could be dancing on Grandin Road pretty soon here. So I'm excited for it. I cannot wait to see what the basketball team is able to do in these next couple years.
That is for sure. That is for
Are
sure.
you gonna miss soccer a lot?
Oh yeah, I'll miss soccer. I love playing soccer at Summit. Coach Sievering was awesome.
Yeah.
The camaraderie on that team's unlike any other team that I've ever been a part of. I mean, from the group system to the trip to Philadelphia
So
to
fun.
just time on the field. Everybody's there before. Everybody stays later. I mean, it was without sounding too cliche. You hear stuff like brotherhood or family, storybook, all of that. I really feel like it applies.
Agreed.
I am gonna miss the Summit soccer program, but I know that they're gonna continue to win. The program that they've built in the past couple years is a testament to the culture that Coach Sievering brought in with him. And I was talking with him a couple weeks ago, and what I said to him is I think his coaching style, I can best describe it as demanding yet understanding, because he demands absolute excellence from all of the players, but he understands if we're not able to deliver up to that level. But I think that's what makes us more likely to be able to deliver at that level is he understands that it's not always going to happen like he wants, and but I think that he's not his expectations aren't unrealistic. And he doesn't tolerate excuses, but what he will understand if we're putting in the work and we're just not getting there. But that's the thing, is because of that understanding, people are more willing to continue to put in that work and get closer to the level that he expects. So it's his philosophy on coaching, and his assistant coaches, Coach Schmiel, Coach Smallwood, Coach Mays, Scotty Mays, who I loved.
Scotty Mays.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see what they do too, and a great group of returning players. The leaders that are in the upcoming senior class, unbelievable. Guys like Jack Gerdzin, Will Yagadich. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what they can do next year.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about the season. It's going to be awesome. I definitely agree. Coach Sievering, great motivator, great coach overall. But going to the Philly trip, you had a famous performance on the bus.
Oh yeah, so on the bus, all the first years have to sing. So I sang "Shallow" by Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, and I thought I did a pretty good job.
It was something special.
Thanks, Z.
It was definitely motivational. It'll give us a little boost of fun on that bus ride home.
Yeah.
It was long. It was long.
It was a long bus ride. Without getting too much into it, it was a long bus ride.
Yeah.
Especially for me.
Oh yeah. Can't forget about that.
That was miserable. I did not get much sleep that night.
Things were wild. Things were definitely wild.
On the car ride over here, Pierce, you were telling me about the Science Research Institute that you do.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about the stuff you've been researching?
Sure. So, Huddy asked me the question, he's, why Summit? What other schools did you look at, and why did you choose Summit? And so, when I made my high school decision, it was in between CCD, believe it or not, and Summit. And I thought the attitudes were similar, the programs were similar. Obviously, the sports are a lot better at Summit, so that helped. I think the facilities are cooler at Summit because they're old, and CCD kind of resembles a warehouse. But
I mean, you're not wrong.
But their library there and stuff like that, and their science labs are so nice. But what really sold me on Summit was the Science Research Institute, because that's a program that I didn't think I would be able to have an opportunity like that really anywhere else. And I think that contributed to me being able to get into some of the colleges that I got into, is being able to put that on my resume. Mm-hmm. And so I worked at the Waltz laboratory at the University of Cincinnati College of Medicine Cancer Biology Department. And that lab is investigating the interaction between a protein called RON, which is a receptor tyrosine kinase, which we all have, pretty much all living things have receptor tyrosine kinases. They're important for cellular locomotion and that sort of thing, and other metabolic processes. However, when RON is overexpressed, and this was first observed in mice and then later in humans, when RON is overexpressed, there's an increased likelihood of breast cancer. And not just breast cancer, but more aggressive breast cancer, late-stage breast cancer, and more metastases, as well as a poorer prognosis. So the lab's looking at why a RON overexpression means what it means when it comes to breast cancer in murine and human models. So that research a few years ago led them to look at the interaction between a protein called RON and a protein called IRAK4. And IRAK4 is a protein that begins a signaling cascade for immune signals, pretty much. And so if the IRAK4 cascade isn't working properly, the cell isn't able to produce what it needs to for the innate immune response, and that is a possible reason why a RON overexpression leads to this more advanced breast cancer. Because breast cancer tends to be fairly resistant to immunotherapy, whereas lung cancer and skin cancer are fairly responsive to immunotherapy. But so there's a need to understand why breast cancer does not respond as well to immunotherapy. So that led them to IRAK4. And the research that I did, what I was able to contribute last summer, showed that when RON is overexpressed in both human and mouse cells, there's a protein called TRAF6, which is downstream of IRAK4, and that protein needs to be degraded in order for the word's escaping me now, but so pretty much TRAF6 needs to be degraded in order for IRF signaling to occur a little bit farther downstream, and that IRF signaling is what leads to the transcription factors that allow for the creation of these immune signals. So TRAF6 degradation is inhibited when RON is overexpressed. And that's what my research showed through Western blot analysis. That's what I was able to demonstrate, and I presented that at the conference this year. Oh, yeah. And so I was talking with people at the conference, at the colloquium, and people were pretty excited about that. The people in my lab were excited about that. And so it's very important in the scientific community to give credit where credit is due. So all of that data that I was able to pull up, all of my Western blot images are saved on the computer system at the Waltz lab, and with my name on them. So if it ever makes its way into a scientific publication, my name would be on there, which is pretty cool.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
So is it almost like a cure-ish thing, or is it more like a sign where you can kind of see it?
So at this point it's really just understanding as much as we can about the mechanism of breast cancer. before we can address a cure or detection.
So it's like building blocks.
It's like an explanation.
Yeah, it's just like it would be pretty difficult to come up with a vaccine or a cure for the coronavirus until we understood everything we could about the coronavirus. So that's what I'm liking it to.
Yeah.
So eventually it's with the eye towards new treatments, because if you can figure out some way to prevent TRAF6 degradation from being inhibited, then certain more traditional immunotherapy drugs that are already on the market could maybe work. Or there are receptor tyrosine kinase inhibitors that could maybe turn off the function of RON, and if the function of RON is turned off, then you wouldn't have that TRAF6 degradation taking place. And so that's the next step in the research, is to look at, okay, exactly what part of the RON protein is interacting with exactly what part of the IRAC protein. And so you do that by, you transfect human cells with different parts of these proteins. So you have cells that are expressing the RON protein, but the kinase domain is dead. So the entire size of the protein is intact, but the kinase domain is not functioning. And then if you say you have these kinase dead RONs, and you genetically manipulate mice to contain these kinase dead RONs, and then all of a sudden they're not developing breast cancer, you say, okay, well, now we've got a pretty good idea that what's going on is happening in between this kinase domain of the RON as opposed to the death domain of the RON, or something like that. So the next step is honing in on exactly what parts of these molecules are interacting with the other molecules.
I mean, that was a great explanation. That was a pretty solid explanation, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't entirely understand it, but if I were knowledgeable on the subject, I feel like that would be reading a textbook. Yeah, well,
I'm really excited about it. I think it's good research that they're doing. And again, a lot of people, I want to be an oncologist after I want to go to medical school after college. I want to be an oncologist eventually. So I think that, and because so many people in my family and so many people that I know have had cancer, oncology is what I'm drawn towards. And so to do oncology from the research side last summer, in addition to being a great resume builder, I think, I learned a lot, and I'm really excited. That kind of confirmed for me that, okay, this is the career I want to pursue. Even though I want to do it from the clinical side, I just think there's so much good that can be done in oncology. I always say, like, people ask me, like, Mr. Smith always asks, what's your why? So my answer to that question is to help as many people as I can as best I can. That's my why, as I understand it now. And I think that the best way that I can do that is through medicine. So.
Oh, that's awesome. You mentioned COVID-19 a little bit. Has there anything you've been doing over quarantine, like new hobbies or anything you've picked up on or been able to focus more on with all this extra free time?
Yeah, I've been working out a lot more. I wanted to establish some good habits before I got to college, so the freshman 15 doesn't hit me as hard. But who knows? And I've been cooking a lot lately.
Oh, that's awesome. What have you been cooking?
A lot of shrimp. I love shrimp. It's one of my favorite foods. I had shrimp for lunch today.
Oh, I saw that on, I thought on your Snapchat story or something.
Yep.
The Old C, whatever, spice, Old Bay.
Old Bay, yeah. I love Old Bay. So I've been shrimp. The other night I grilled some shrimp and I grilled some corn, and then with that I served a salad with an avocado chipotle crema ranch. It was pretty damn good. So it's cooking, yeah, that's what I've been getting into. Cooking, working out, playing the guitar, which I love to do. One night earlier in quarantine, I played the guitar so much that my hands started to bleed. So
oh, wow.
I had to take a couple days off. But yeah, and just watching movies, that kind of thing. I don't know. At first, I was pretty upset about all of it, but I settled into the new normal.
Yeah.
And now we're getting back to the pre-lockdown normal, so that's good.
So what are some good movies you've been watching?
Let's see. So I watched Uncut Gems 2 nights ago. Thought that was
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. Yeah, it's so weird for me to see him do something serious other than slapstick.
Very interesting.
But he did a great job. I really like that movie. The Weeknd was in it, and I absolutely love The Weeknd. He's like my favorite modern musical artist. So the fact that The Weeknd was in it was a great bonus. I watched Moon, which I thought was fantastic, and I saw it on Netflix. Never heard of it before. Thought Sam Rockwell probably should have gotten an Oscar nod for that one back in 2009. But that's the year that Milk kind of swept the Oscars, and Heath Ledger got his posthumous Oscar for Joker in The Dark Knight. So so I understand why he didn't get a nod, but I thought it was a great movie. I watched Joker as well for the first time. I thought it was good, but I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to. But I definitely think that Joaquin Phoenix deserved the Oscar that he won for that. And then before that, I watched Dunkirk. Which was awesome.
I need to see that. That's one of the Christopher Nolans
fantastic.
I need to see.
Christopher Nolan is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Inception, the Batman movies.
Ooh. Interstellar,
The
Prestige, all those.
And then so my favorite movie that I've watched over quarantine that was actually American Psycho, which is Christian Bale, who is in the Batman movies and some other Christopher Nolan stuff. But American Psycho was awesome. If you watch it at its surface value, it is hilarious. I mean, it is so funny. And you might think that I'm crazy for saying that because it's a movie about a wealthy stockbroker killing people in New York in the late 80s. But it is so funny. I mean, his explanations of music while he's killing people, really funny. And it's a satire of that kind of culture. And then you watch it again and you get into it a little more and you look at the satire, you say, okay, so I understand what's going on now is because there's a recurrent motif throughout the movie that other people at the firm that Pat Bateman works at, it's called Pierce & Pierce, which I thought was funny.
Oh, yeah.
But other people at Pierce & Pierce constantly confuse Pat Bateman for other stockbrokers that work there. But meanwhile, he's so different from all these other people because all they're concerned with is doing cocaine and listening to New Order in nightclubs. And he's, the quote that best sums it up is while he's in a nightclub and some of his buddies are doing cocaine with supermodels, one of the supermodels asks Pat Bateman, so what do you do? And he says, murders and executions. And it's a play on the words mergers and acquisitions because that's what he actually does. But nobody even notices when he says murders and executions. Or when he tells a bartender that he wants to cut her head off and play with her blood. She doesn't even bat her eyes. And so the point of the movie is like this culture that they're living in the late 80s, like this Wall Street yuppie culture in the late 80s is so shallow that people only are concerned with what glasses and suit Pat Bateman is wearing, that they don't even listen to him when he's telling them that he's killing people.
They're just blind.
Yeah, they're blind to it because they're so obsessed with the superficial aspects of their life. So I thought it was really good. And I actually read the book right after I watched the movie, and the book was even better than the movie. So if you're looking for something to read, American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, one of the best books I've read in a while.
That sounds interesting. Going back to the Joker, I haven't gotten around to see the new Joker because when Heath Ledger plays the Joker in The Dark Knight, it's just so legendary. I just don't know if I could see anybody else do it now.
Heath Ledger is the best Joker I've ever seen. So, again, Joaquin Phoenix was awesome. Totally deserved the Oscar. But it's the movie was more like a case study of mental illness than a superhero origin story, if you will. But it was more cerebral than the original Batman movies, which, don't get me wrong, thought they were great. I love those movies, so but it was different. Joker did not feel like a superhero, supervillain movie.
I can't really get into the superhero stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like the new Spider-Man movies and Black Panther, but that's about it.
They're not for everybody. I just every once in a while I like to watch a movie where shit gets blown up.
Oh yeah.
Like I watched Transformers the other night because I was like, I want to see some stuff get blown up.
Yeah.
And nobody's better at that than Michael Bay.
Oh, true. That is true. For me, like, the superheroes, there's some superheroes I like. Like, I like Batman.
Yep.
I like Spider-Man, the originals. But, like, the Avengers stuff, I just think that's, like, too predictable and, like, too, like, repetitive in a way.
Yeah.
Like, I know some people love it, though.
I can see that. But, again, I watch those movies to watch stuff get blown up. Although,
yeah.
I will say, in Endgame, I think Robert Downey Jr. got robbed of an Oscar nomination. I thought he was fantastic, so...
I mean, I haven't even seen it.
I feel like I've never seen Avengers, but it'd be kind of cool to see all of them on one screen at the same time.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I remember there's a moment where like everybody from the entire Avengers series, like the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, is kind of lined up at once, and then Captain America. Actually, there's a joke in the earlier movies that nobody else can hold Thor's hammer except for Thor. Because he's the strongest Avenger. Only a god can hold the hammer. because no one else is worthy of holding the hammer. But in that scene, Captain America he's lost his shield. He's standing there with all the other Avengers, and he says, "Avengers assemble!" And he reaches out his hand, and Thor's hammer comes up, and he grabs it. So it's, I wasn't at. I just got chills right now talking about it. It's not something that you would think would be that powerful, but when you've been watching these damn movies since 2008, when the first Iron Man came out, I've seen all of them now. I mean, it was so cool to see. I can't imagine what it would have been like in a theater. I'm sure people went ape shit, but me sitting in my basement watching it,
You're like, holy shit.
Hearing Chris Evans say Avengers Assemble, picking up Thor's hammer, I stood up in front of my TV and I go, holy shit, so it was pretty cool.
That's the best feeling during like a good film.
Yeah.
There's those like certain scenes that's like, wow, what just happened? Yeah. And I don't know, I'm just trying to think. Like, have you ever seen the movie Interstellar?
I have not.
Okay, so basically, I'm not going to try to spoil it, but, like, the ending to it, like, it makes me have shivers down my spine.
Oh, yeah.
It's that good.
Good art can do that to you. Good music, good movies.
Oh, yeah.
Usually not TV shows. Sometimes music, but yeah, good art really, it resonates with people, so that's how you know it's good. And it's strange for me to sit here and refer to the Avengers movies as art, but watching them since I was 7 years old, it was part of American life for 13 years, and they're not done making movies yet, but that part of the story's wrapped up. But it was cool.
Who can forget like that, having the Iron Man masks and the Hulk hammers,
Yeah,
the fist.
Oh, yeah, everybody had them. It was a big part of our childhoods.
So like, you're a guy who's going to an amazing college. You are so involved in the Summit community for the past 4 years, and you can you can pick up a lot of things. Like, I don't know, you have a lot of abilities that you exercise all the time, and you're so goddamn smart.
Thank you. Thank you.
For people in our grade or the grades below us, how would you what advice would you give them to get more involved in the community?
Just embrace it. Be thankful for what the Summit community and the Cincinnati community is. And when you start to appreciate it, those opportunities kind of reveal themselves to you. Pep Club is something I was involved with for a long time. And, it wasn't serious. It wasn't that serious and stuff like that. But, this year when they tried to get rid of it, I fought my ass off to make sure that they didn't, because it has a value. Before I came to Summit, I would go to games, and I was in 8th grade, 7th grade, stuff like that, like a football game, a basketball game. It was not the same as it was the 4 years that I was at Summit. And the school spirit is something that's tremendously important to me. It's one of the main reasons I chose North Carolina. Because if you go down there, everybody's wearing UNC blue all over campus all the time. And so I think that's something that's tremendously important, a sense of pride in your community, whether that community is your school, your city, your country, your religion. A sense of community and pride in that community is something that's tremendously important to me. So I think the best advice I can give for people who want to get more involved in the Summit community is just to embrace the community and be thankful for it, and in places where they see that the community needs help, there are opportunities to get involved. So one of those things was the admissions team at Summit. I was involved with that for 4 years.
Mr. Lorenz does a great job.
Shout out Lorenz.
Yep.
I hope he finds this podcast.
Somehow.
You guys should interview him at some point.
He'd be a good guest.
He would be a really good guest. So, most of his stories are probably too PG-13 for this podcast, but you can bleep some of the stuff out. But Lorenz is an awesome guy, and he actually just moved into my neighborhood, so yeah. So hopefully I'm seeing some of him this summer.
No, I totally agree. I don't like it when people complain Cincinnati, there's not much to do. But if you really embrace it and find things you're passionate about, you can keep yourself busy.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely.
Always.
So one of the communities that I became a part of over the past couple of years, dating back even to 7th grade, is the guitar studio that I used to play at. Last summer I played at the Blind Lemon through my guitar teacher. He plays there, and he said, "Hey, I need somebody to play at this time at the Blind Lemon. Would you be willing to do that?" So I did, and I think that community has given so much to me, and I love playing the guitar, and I love performing. And actually, I wrote my college essay about playing the guitar. I wrote about my inability to play bar chords a couple years ago, and how I would teach myself really complex workarounds for these bar chords. And these chords are actually more difficult than the bar chords I was trying to avoid. Once I realized that, I was like, oh, you know what? Just play the damn bar chords. So that's what I wrote my college essay about. So that's that guitar community down and over the Rhine that I'm a member of is, again, it's something that I'm really passionate about. And I think there's stuff like that all over the city that people who are looking to get involved, you just have to open your eyes and your ears and listen and look for opportunities, and they pretty much find you. So.
That Blind Lemon spot's pretty cool up in Mount Adams.
Oh, yeah.
It's right on the
I've never been.
It's cool. If I ever play there this summer, I don't know with COVID-19 what bars are going to look like. Some of the bars in Mount Adams have opened back up.
Mount Lookout. Last night.
Yeah, I've been to Bubs a couple times this week, and Mount Lookout's hopping. And Clifton last night, in the midst of some of the stuff that was going on, I mean, there was still, I knew a bunch of people who were at Top Cats and Ladder and shit like that. I mean, so people are going to drink.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at MLTs driving home. Packed out the door. Definitely maybe not the best social distance exercising, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is. What can you do?
What can you do? But that's the thing, too, is, again, I feel the better that we get back to normal, maybe there's an opportunity for herd immunity, maybe there's not, but certainly the repair to the economy is going to happen quicker and better the more quickly that we can get back to doing what we were doing before. Because I mean, it's no secret that the market before this happened, the stock market's recovering wonderfully, which I don't understand because unemployment's still up. There are issues. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Carvana declared bankruptcy, and their stock was up. I don't remember how many points later in the week. I'm not sure if it was Carvana, really but it's weird. It's where the market.
I mean, it hit all-time lows.
Yeah, I mean it is
all time, but
not all time.
Not all time.
In the recent since 08.
And certainly unprecedented dips and that kind of thing. I mean, we never really got too far past what it was in 2016 when President Trump took office, but it kind of, the speed at which it went back to those levels was incredible. And, you hear economists talk about a V-shaped recovery. The stock market recovered in the shape of a V.
Yeah.
Whether or not the rest of our economy can recover like that remains to be seen. And if it doesn't, then the stock market, I guarantee you, once this bubble of investor confidence ends, and I feel like some of it's just because things are starting to reopen and the mood is uplifted, I feel like, there are long-term implications for that. And, an overly inflated market with an actual shaky economy underneath of it spells disaster. Like 1929, Great Depression. So what we really need is for the rest of the economy to recover like the market has.
For sure.
I think that, and I feel that confidence is good right now, and as soon as hiring can begin again, and it can in some places, in other places it's moving slower. But one of the issues is the stimulus bill that was just passed. The unemployment that's in that stimulus bill, that unemployment package is actually better than some people can make doing like minimum wage jobs in some places, which is not good because they're going to want to stay on the unemployment because they can do nothing and make more money than than they could working. But the taxes haven't come out of the unemployment yet.
Yeah, I mean, have you guys seen LA right now? There's literally like cities intense of homeless people.
Isn't unemployment like 15% right now?
I don't know the percent,
I don't think
but
I
just saw that the jobless claims were 40 million, so it's pretty substantial.
Yeah. What was your reaction when Elon Musk tweeted that Tesla's stock price is too high, and then it went down $10-15 the next day?
I love Elon Musk, but I can't pretend to understand what the hell is going on in that guy's mind. So I don't know. I mean, he's right. The stock price was too high, and it went back down to a more reasonable level. But
that's money like coming out of his pocket, though.
He's crazy. That's all I have to say about Elon Musk is he is crazy. But what I wouldn't give to sit and talk to Elon Musk for an hour or 2 hours and just pick his brain. I mean, how interesting would that be?
That'd be sick.
You guys should get him on the pod. I mean,
hey, Elon Musk, if you're listening right now.
Yeah. And I'd like a job, too, if you're listening.
No, he's great. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just one of those guys. Like, it's almost like he's like not from Earth. Like, some of the things he says are just super complex and like.
He's like a real life Tony Stark. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. And the fact that he named his kid Ash Archangel, and you know he just updated the baby's name because it used to be Archangel was spelled A12. He updated it to be A-XII to make it Roman numerals. So the fact that he can update his kid's name like it's an iPhone, crazy. But
That's pretty funny.
that's Elon Musk.
He's gonna get patch notes for his first birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Software update every year.
When he learns to walk, it'll be a huge software update and stuff.
Yeah.
So strange, but
Eats the Legos and computer chips for breakfast.
He's like a real life, or Elon's like a real life, like calm, down to earth Rick from Rick and Morty.
yeah, that's another thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is like Rick from Rick and Morty. You know, like, hey, Morty, I turn myself into a pickle. Morty, pickle Rick. You know.
Dude, you watch Rick and Morty?
I do watch Rick
Oh,
and Morty.
I love it.
I watched
that
it
show.
over the quarantine. I think it's awesome. I mean,
It's the best.
And I didn't know what to think because there's all the memes about it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
there's the memes that people who watch Rick and Morty are assholes because they're like, you probably wouldn't get it. It's for smart people or something like that. But one night I was bored and I watched Rick and Morty and I was like, holy shit, this is funny. So I ripped
It's
through all
really funny.
3 of the seasons that are on Hulu in about 4 days. So
New
I gotta watch
episode
season
tonight,
4.
right?
Yep, another new episode
season
tonight.
finale of season 4 is on tonight.
Last episode was really funny.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, so don't spoil anything. But
I will not spoil it.
I think
I wonder what the finale's going to be like. Do you guys think they'll go back to Rick Lantis?
Dude, he just said don't spoil it.
No, I said for the next episode. Do you think they'll go back to Rick Lantis?
possible.
Because they haven't been there in season 4 yet.
Some of my favorite episodes are like the one where I can't remember what it's called, but he kills Morty kills Krombopolis Michael. Krombopolis Michael has to execute an interdimensional gaseous non-carbon-based life form.
Moon Man.
Yeah,
He affectionately names Fart. And the song Moon Man is in it. And I think that song is so funny. And so the first time I listened to that song, I was like, damn, this really reminds me of like Starman by David Bowie or the Ziggy Stardust songs and stuff like that, or Major Tom. And so I'm like, okay. So I look into this a little bit, and they actually, Cartoon Network contacted David Bowie about performing that song for them. They wanted David Bowie to do the Moon Men song, and I can't remember who they ended up having do it, but originally they wanted David Bowie to sing that.
Did he pass during?
He passed recently.
Yeah,
It
was before David Bowie died, but he wanted no part of that because it's
Rick and Morty.
But I think it would have been funny had I been sitting there and David Bowie's voice came on to sing about an interdimensional fart. I would have died. So.
I mean, it would have been really funny. My favorite episode's probably Total Recall. Have you seen that one?
Yep.
Mr. Poopy
everybody's
Butthole.
favorite.
Oh, Mr. Poopy Butthole's so funny.
And then you always hear about Pickle Rick. That's the episode that everybody talks about. And
I
was
love
like,
Pickle Rick.
And I was like, okay, it's Pickle Rick. How funny is Pickle Rick actually going to be? And then he went down to the sewer.
Yeah.
And he killed those rats. And then he went to that secret base and he killed those Russians. And it's a pickle that's murdering these people. And I'm laughing my ass off. I can't stop laughing. And then then the part when he's on the roof and he goes like, "Good farewell, Selenia." I mean, so funny.
Oh, yeah.
And
all to avoid family therapy.
All to avoid family therapy. And who could blame him? And then there's one other episode, I can't remember what it's called, but they go to a resort where you can't die.
Oh, yep. I forget what it's called.
And so Jerry sells out to the aliens and he tells them that he'll help assassinate Rick because everybody in the galaxy, everybody in the universe wants to kill Rick. But temporarily, and this is the hardest I've laughed in probably 2 years. I was watching this episode with my brother Keen. It's like 2:30 in the morning.
Shout out Keen, by the way.
What's that?
Shout out Keen.
Yeah, shout out Keen. How's it going? And Quinn. Both Quins. Sam's little brother Quinn. Happy birthday. And my Quinn. Shout out to you guys. So Rick accidentally turns the power off at this resort, and then the force field that prevents you from dying is off.
Oh, yeah.
So Keen and I are watching this 2:30 in the morning. Everything's funnier at 2:30 in the morning.
True.
Everything is funnier at 2:30 in the morning.
That's true.
So there's this little boy and this little girl. Alien. And he's shooting her. She's shooting him in the head, or he's shooting her in the head, and they just keep doing it because she can't die. So she gets shot in the head. She stands back up. They keep running. It's like they're playing tag, and then he shoots her. But the power's off, and it was so funny to me and Keen. We laughed for probably 7 minutes. We had to pause the show. my mom calls us. She goes, "Is everything all right?" We're like, "Yeah, but you got to watch this." So we told her what episode to watch. She watched it too. We're in the basement. She's upstairs. And then we hear her laugh for about 7 minutes straight. It's like, all right, so we're not psychopaths. It was actually that funny.
Oh, yeah.
But great show.
That was really funny. No, that's for sure.
I hope they continue.
And it's also, I mean, it's got me, Rick and Morty. Yeah, it just got renewed for another 70 episodes.
No.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's 7 seasons worth. Awesome. I hope it can have the longevity that like South Park has.
And like Family Guy, stuff like that.
I mean, it reminds me, it's like Futurama and South Park had a kid. Because it's like a raunchier Futurama, and I love it. And it actually, I'm like a space nerd. I love stuff like that. Yeah. So it actually has inspired me, like the whole concept of the multiverse and everything like that. You know, I've been super into that stuff over quarantine. And like last night, just to anyone out there listening, go on the Wikipedia page for the universe. Type in the universe on Wikipedia and read the fucking introduction, and your head will be spinning. I mean, it is crazy just to think about how big it is.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I did that last night at like 3 a.m. I got on there and I just looked up like the universe, and I wasn't even able to scroll before my head hurt. I mean, it's just crazy. And so my dad and I, we love to talk about this stuff, like fractals, the universe, the nature of infinity, whether or not we're in a simulation. And so that what I keep coming back to is no computer that we know of can store an infinite amount of information.
Like the number pi. This isn't a simulation if the number pi exists. Exactly.
We can't be living in a simulation because we have infinite properties. You know, and our minds are infinite and that sort of thing. And I mean, like you get into stuff where you hear about people talking about like experiences on psychedelic drugs and the stuff that they hear and the stuff that they see. And no two experiences are the same because, you know, we live in these meat puppets, our bodies, that contain like an infinite mind with a singular goal to understand everything around us.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we understand that we're not going to understand, that's when our understanding begins. And so, but you look at this, like, there's an infinite amount of creativity and thought that we can go through in a lifetime. Like, nobody will ever think of everything that there is to be thought of because it's infinite. And we can't be living in a simulation because something that's infinite exists within our reality. And I say that with finger quotes because of the concept of a simulation. So I say that, and I'm settled with that for a couple days. I'm like, okay, so we're not living in a simulation. Whew. So my dad and I, we had that conversation. And then 2 days later, I'm lying in my bed. It's like 3 in the morning. And I'm like...
Deep thoughts.
I'm like, wait a damn minute. What if we only think that we can think an infinite amount of things? What if that's just...
No.
Or what if pi is not actually infinite? What if there is a final number? And that really sent me too. So.
No, Elon Musk, he makes a great point. Like, if graphics from like the 70s can jump to things like GTA in the midst of 40 years, I mean, a simulation, I mean, it could be pretty likely.
Yeah, I mean, and so then I get back to that point of when we realize that we can't understand, or when you understand that there is no need to understand, that's when your understanding actually begins. And a very wise person once told me, in the midst of a psychedelic experience, they were in the midst of a psychedelic experience, and they said to me, "When you understand that there is no need to understand, you can understand." And I thought that was pretty profound.
It's like humans. I guess we can't really comprehend that. Like, there's some things that just don't actually have a start. Like, I feel like we focus on like start to finish. You know, you live your life, then you die. But like, there's some things like, you know, you go to the Big Bang Theory and things like that. You know, they say like there's the gases and made the universe. What about what made those gases?
Well, exactly.
And like, you just go all the way back.
I was reading about that last night actually, and if you go to the Wikipedia entry for the Big Bang, and this is what really started me on this path last night when I'm reading about the universe and stuff like that. It says the Big Bang is an explanation for how a singularity became everything that we experience now, and how the universe is ever expanding in every direction from that singularity. But the Big Bang Theory does not account for the beginning. It accounts for the expansion of the universe from a finite point in time, but we have no idea from before then. Like, it accounts for the how and the what of the universe.
It's just like, I guess like there's something that's just always been there. With the religion thing, like, has God, have just always been there if you're a Catholic,
Yeah. So I think that
Christian.
in my experience and throughout the various experiences that I had and have had, especially recently, I feel like there has to be something. I have come to understand that thing through the lens of the Judeo-Christian God, like Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I'm a Christian. That's how I have chosen to interpret the friendship or the relationship between us and whatever is out there. But I think that be it Muslim, be it Hindu, be it Shinto, all these other different religions are just, they're mechanisms by which other cultures can understand and rationalize the friendship of this being within the context of their own cultures. So they're religions are tools, and our religion, our tool, say Christianity, looks very different from the tool of Shinto or Islam. But these tools, again, are just helping us to do the same thing. Like,
it's almost like a coping mechanism for when you die, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's more than that. I think it's not just about when we die. I think it's about just... Because I feel like there has to be something there. So I think...
No, I agree with you.
Like our connection as a people with a higher power.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be something. What that thing is, I mean, who knows? Like I said, I choose to believe, I choose to ascribe to the Christian belief system, but who knows if I'm right or you know, somebody in India is right about what they believe. And I don't think any two people actually believe the same things. So I think everybody kind of has their own little personal faith that is their personal tool for understanding what the hell is going on out there. And I think that's a good thing. So I know I love talking about this kind of stuff and getting philosophical, but you know, I just really feel like I don't know. I've had some experiences that I won't get into due to the nature of this podcast and who the audience might be, but I've had some experiences in my life where I'm like, damn, okay. I mean that. Now I get it. Now I get it. And I don't get it, but in those moments in time I had the illusion that I got it, and now looking back on it, it's like, okay, so I don't get it, but I get that I don't get it now. So there's got to be, you know, we can never understand everything, and because we can never understand everything, there has to be something. That's the best way I can, you know, rationalize it.
I really like the point you brought up about, like, the different cultures, how they have their certain beliefs. It's almost like, it's kind of just like what, like, their culture has just kind of, like, made from the ground up. And, like, because religions keep on evolving, you know. Christianity is a lot different in 2020 than it was in, like, 400 AD.
Because it's all about what kind of belief system best explains what is going on within the context of a culture. You know, like the Mayans, their religion
was the sun.
Yeah, it meshed with their culture because the sun was so important for growing food and telling time and all of these things. So the sun became the most important thing to them. And you know, when you look at biblical imagery, it's a lot of wine, it's a lot of sheep, it's shepherds, it's stuff like that. It's stars, it's, you know, animal sacrifice. It's fire. All of that shit was so important to people at that time.
Especially where it started, like,
in the Middle
Judea
East and stuff like that. I mean, no wonder that Judaism looks the way that Judaism looks or looked back then, because they took elements of their culture and applied them. And so it was a tool for them to understand what was going on and what their relationship, what the nature of their relationship to this higher power was. So that's my take on religion, and that's a fairly new thing for me, is I've recently come into that belief. But I think that it's you know, it serves its purpose for me. It's made me more empathetic and tolerant, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty hard realization, like, when you think that us as a human race, we're never going to know everything. Like,
I like the fact that we're never going to know everything.
It keeps everybody sane. Well, not sane, but, like, it keeps... Well, if somebody knew everything, then they'd be the leader of the world, you know?
I like how we're not in, like, a state of desperation. We're still trying to figure out the stuff we don't know.
Yeah, and that's what keeps... That's what makes humans human, I think. Like, I don't know, to some extent, maybe some animals, like maybe chimpanzees, another very intelligent species, are interested in learning about the place they live or the tools that they can make or the food they can eat. But our chimpanzees, every single second of every single day, caught up in an existential, not crisis, but like an existential quest to understand their meaning? No. But as humans, are we? I would say yes. I mean, even the stuff that is like a biological process, like the need to have sex to reproduce, to propagate our species. I mean, if we were just like any other animal, we would mate all the time. Instead, as humans, and you can argue, I don't want to get into the argument of polygamy versus monogamy and stuff like that, but I feel like monogamy is widely accepted around the world. And even polygamy, but it's not like, but you stay with those people. It's like an emotional connection.
It's like your kin,
Yeah,
like what's the theory? It's like somebody's number. It's like, you have your kin, that's your 5 people. It's like you only get to know 150 people.
Huh. I haven't heard of that.
I'll look it up.
But yeah, so it's like even these things, like eating. Eating is something that is so base and essential to our existence as a species, because if we stopped eating, we would die. But eating has become something for humans, like people show their emotion through their cooking and stuff like that. It's, and I mean, so like even food has taken on like an emotional significance. It's taken on a higher meaning than what it means to other species and stuff like that. It's like the same way that sex has in relationships. So it's like even the most basic things that we do as human beings, we still, while we are doing those things, we're still in that like hour by hour, minute by minute struggle to understand what we're doing here and to be connected with other people. So that's what I think makes humans humans. It's like that drive to understand. I would say that it is more basic to us as humans than the need to reproduce or the need to eat is the need to understand.
I agree with you. Like, humans are definitely very different and stuff. And back to what I was saying, it's Dunbar's number. And if you want to read about it, it's called Dunbar's number. It's like
I'll look that
how, when humans were nomadic and stuff like that, apparently it talks about how, like, you only could, like, remember really, like, 150 people by their face and name. But you have, like, your 5 people in your family, your kin. Then you have, like, your super family. That's, like, like, cousins.
Yeah.
And then, like, family friends you'd consider.
Yeah.
And then you have, like, your clan. I'd probably consider that, like, your neighborhood. That's 50 people.
Yeah.
And then, like, then you have your tribe. That's probably, like, that's 150 people that, like, you kind of, like, are familiar with.
Yeah, yeah.
And honestly, I don't think there's any, like, animals that could really comprehend that.
No, I don't think so.
That's what makes humans so different.
You look at stuff like dolphins who, when they hunt, they give each other names, if you will. Like, dolphins have, like, a certain call sign or something like that. You see, like, lions that were raised when they were cubs by people, then they're released on a reserve in Africa, and 10 years later people go back and the lions recognize them and give them hugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff like that, and elephants have great memories and can remember faces and stuff like that. But again, in that volume and that depth, no species other than humans that I don't think that we know of can do that sort of thing.
I agree.
I wonder how much more we're going to evolve as a species, because,
That's a damn good question.
100,000 years ago, we weren't thinking about the same things we're thinking of now. How did the world start? Stuff like that. And 100,000 years from now, we're going to be thinking of totally different stuff.
So I heard a great lecture by a professor at Georgetown Medical School on this subject, and he said when hominids became bipedal in sub-Saharan Africa, I can't remember when, but what happened is our teeth, they used to be. They were all like flat because we were herbivores. We ate leaves. Our ancestors ate leaves. These quadrupedal hominids that were tree dwellers ate leaves. But when they started to move to the ground and they started to develop bipedalism, what came along with that is more canine-like teeth. Our teeth got sharper to eat meat because there are certain proteins and amino acid chains in meat that are necessary for the construction of neural tissue. And so as humans evolved, as hominids evolved, our brains got bigger and our teeth got sharper, and we walked on 2 legs, so we were more suited to hunting quadrupedal prey. So that's, when we started to need to hunt, because we needed to eat meat, because our brains needed to get bigger. So that is a huge step in evolution. And the lecture was called, it was on the subject of the paleo diet. Because the paleo diet's very meat-based. And so the guy's talking about why is the paleo diet called the paleo diet, here's why. So he explains the evolutionary history of the omnivorous nature of humans and how we made that jump from
Herbs
quadrupedal herbivores to bipedal omnivores, and without that jump, our brains never would have been able to develop to the size they were, because it's all about relative size. There are other animals with brains that are larger than ours. Relative size, not so much.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really interesting lecture when you, it makes sense. So so I guess maybe raccoons, omnivores, are going to be pretty smart in a little while. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
But yeah, that's a great question. Where the hell are we going after this? Can a species be evolved out? Are we like Pokemon?
I
Yeah.
don't want to know, honestly.
Neither do I.
No, yeah.
Because if I know that, I don't even know, several many thousands of years from now that my ancestors are going to have wings and shit, I don't want to know that.
Yeah, it could happen. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because, if we really started in the water, right? Then, hell, we could have wings
Yeah.
in 100,000 years. That's a very possible outcome.
Yeah.
Where I think we're going is, it's almost like, I feel like we're starting to overcomplicate a lot of stuff. And you hear about the people who live in Siberia or super northern Canada that kind of just live off the land. And there's studies that they're just so happy compared to people nowadays. And I just think it's interesting, maybe with depression rising and certain mental anxieties, that maybe people thousands from years from now will kind of go back to a more simplistic kind of way of living.
There are always utopians in every society who think, hey, let's simplify that kind of thing. There are people who they don't like technology, they don't like social media, that kind of stuff. I'm not one of those people. I think the more advanced we can get, the better, because I think that's going to help us in our quest to understand, which I think is ultimately the most important thing. But back to the idea of what are people going to look like in the future. I think it depends on our environment, because you see, with climate change, what's the Earth going to look like in that amount of time? How different is the environment going to be? That's what's going to drive evolution, because it's, it's Darwinism. It's what animals are going to be selected for and selected against based on the environment that they're in. So say the Earth becomes inhospitable in 300 years, but by that time there's a colony on Mars. Are people going to... Yeah, people would evolve differently than they would have if they'd stayed on Earth. Maybe not as drastically if they're in an Earth-like environment, but if ever the technology arises where it's the Mars could be terraformed or an atmosphere could be created that's hospitable, people, because that environment is so different, people are gonna change, or say not Mars, but some other planet, some other galaxy that has life on it. Not necessarily intelligent life, but giant super predators or something like that. And the terrain is almost all a pale yellow. Maybe people's skin color will change to blend in with that a little bit more, so they're not such easy targets for these super predators that live on another planet. To look at what people are going to look like in the future, it's almost impossible to predict, because who knows what the environment's going to look like. And that's really what drives evolution, is what traits are being selected for and what traits are being selected against due to the environment and the presence of other organisms or other factors in that environment. But it's super interesting to think about, is what are humans going to look like in the future.
Do you know how that happens? How a couple humans can kind of just start maybe to grow wings, or how chimpanzees kind of the backs became hunched, when they were chimps, and then straightens out.
It's mutation. There are several loci where it can happen. It could happen on the DNA strand. It could happen during the process of transcription or translation or replication, or even a coding issue with the protein itself. I mean, there are many different levels of protein expression where a mutation can occur. And there's many different types of mutation. There's stop, missense, nonsense, and so just when codons are changed due to mutations, be it point substitution, whatever, when codons are changed and different amino acids are plugged into the peptide chain, the end result protein looks different. And when that happens in large numbers, then mutations arise in the organism. And what happens then is, say a mutation occurs in one of our kids, and they end up with 6 fingers on each hand due to some chromosomal abnormality as a result of protein chain mutations at some point along the process of their development. And they are, and there's a bunch of other people out there that have 6 fingers. And then some kind of event happens that favors people with 6 fingers.
Yeah, and more people with 6 fingers.
And so say everybody else is killed off except for people who have 6 fingers. And then people with 6 fingers have kids. And, because of the way that recombinant DNA works, and because of the way that gametes are formed when they meet, when an egg is fertilized, there are different possibilities of what the offspring can have. But the likelihood increases that the kids of those kids, if a 6-fingered man and a 6-fingered woman have a kid,
they're gonna have 6 fingers.
It's likely that the kid will have 6 fingers. It's not, depending on what's dominant and what's not, it's not possible. You don't know, but that's how it would happen. It's a mutation, and then some kind of events occur, or there's a shift in, some other factor that favors people with 6 fingers. Then you're going to start to see the prevalence of people with 6 fingers increase in that direction. There's several different types of selections. That would be like directional selection, like where people with 5 fingers are selected against people with 6 fingers are selected for. And then, over the course of several generations, people with 5 fingers are almost gone. All humans have 6 fingers on each hand. So that's basically how it works.
Okay, so in the future, there could be mutation when people have wings.
It wouldn't happen like
overnight.
No,
it wouldn't happen overnight. But because what happens is we're all derived from the same organisms. Mm-hmm. So your arms and my arms are analogous structures for a bird's wings, right? Because at some point we had a common ancestor, and we branched off in 2 different directions. And our ancestors developed arms; their ancestors developed wings. So what would happen is there would be slight changes over time. And wings is a drastic example. Humans could be extinct by the time that could occur. What would happen is eventually, I don't even know what would happen. Maybe our arms would get wider, our bones would get hollow in our arms, or something like that. But it would take so long. It's hard to even comprehend. But eventually, it's just the structures would get more and more like what they used to be at that common ancestor, and they would have to be selected for. So it's like if somebody had skin that connected like their wrist to like their waist or something like webbed that, arms. And webbed arms, some event would have to happen that was like, well, more of those people are going to survive than the people that don't have that, and then the prevalence of that mutation in the gene pool increases, and then it's so hard to even comprehend how long it would take. But
biology major here.
But then eventually, you get people with wings.
I just got major freshman biology flashbacks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Coming back to me.
Yeah, I needed that refresher.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It's good.
It's pretty good.
You guys got anything else? I'm happy to. I'm having fun, so
there's a lot more stuff we can cover.
All right.
Would you like to elaborate on the incident this year with Venice and Mr. Carley at Assembly?
Yeah, I figured this question might come up because when I agreed to come on the podcast, they said, well, what do you want to talk about? I was like, high school, sports, music, the universe, So what happened is I heard that Venice was doing the Assembly. And I missed the first time that Venice did the Assembly this year. I was on the 2nd floor, he was on the 3rd floor, so I didn't get to see it. But, I heard great things. And when I heard that he was going to be doing the Assembly, it was in the wake of the Mr. Carly thing. So I went up to Venice in the morning. He was in the computer lab, where my friends and I would sit there in the morning outside the computer lab on the second floor. Shout out to NTB and Brunette Squad, if any of you guys watch or listen to this. So Venice goes into the computer lab. I follow him in. I'm like, hey, Venice, you know what'd be awesome? Mr. Carly asked if you would ask for a moment of silence for him at the assembly. And he's like, okay, I'll do that. And I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. And about 30 minutes later, I was like, oh, fuck, what did I do? Because I knew it was going to go well pretty much as soon after as I had this idea. But I was in class in the middle school, and I knew there was absolutely no way I was going to be able to stop him before he got to the assembly. And for those of you who remember that assembly, it was a shit show. I mean, Mr. Carly thing or not, it would go down as the most eventful assembly of all time at Summit. So he does the thing. He says, like, Mr. Carly asked for a prayer or something like that. Originally, it was a moment of silence, and I think that would have been worse. Had he done exactly what I had asked him to do, it would have been so much worse. And so, so that was pretty much it. And I didn't get in trouble for that because I didn't technically violate any rules.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, Mr. Pope and Miss Cronin were pissed. So they called me in, and I talked to both of them, and they're like, we didn't violate any rules technically, so we can't really do anything to you. But my dumbass, the next day, the day before, thought it would be a good idea to test the synthetic blood in anatomy class to see if it tasted like real blood. So I took a shot of synthetic blood, and I'm like, it tastes like real blood. I just wanted to see. And I did this right in front of Mrs. Sickinger and everybody in my class, so it was no secret that this happened. And she had to call my mom because she was afraid I was going to get sick and stuff like that. And I did get sick. I got really, really fucking sick because of this stuff. But my mom had to call poison control and all that.
Oh, jeez.
It was a mess. But, so I ended up getting a detention for that. But Mr. Pope made Mrs. Sickinger give me a detention for that. So the detention was really because of the Venice thing. So I'm not fooled, but it was dumb. I regret it, but it's in the past.
Senior year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. You guys didn't pull off the senior prank. Did you have any ideas for that? Were you guys gonna do a senior prank?
If you don't mind sharing.
I don't know. It seemed like a weekly argument in our senior group chat, like, oh, when are we going to do our senior skip day and stuff like that. People talked about it so fucking much that I think that the coronavirus was just God saying, you know what, you want a senior skip day, here's your senior skip semester. We really hadn't settled on a prank yet or anything like that, but I don't know. That was mine. The Venice thing was my senior prank.
Yeah. It's pretty funny, but
What did you think for your senior year? They got rid of the do it cheer at pep rallies.
That was stupid. Again, story that involves Venice.
Shout out Venice.
Shout out Venice.
He's a great kid.
Yeah, Venice, if you're listening, I love you. You're awesome. Good luck next year. But again, getting rid of the do it chant sucked. That chant was awesome.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But it made it that much sweeter when we got to do it in other people's gyms,
Yeah.
So.
It really is. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope it can make its way back.
I'm sure it will.
You don't have to worry about that.
All right.
We gotta be able to handle it.
Pep Club's in good hands with you guys, I guess.
Yeah, isn't Keen promoted to leader?
Yep. I made Keen the leader, which
sir.
I was pretty sure that was just going to piss people off, but again, I don't really care because I'm gone.
Good.
But I think Keen will do a good job. He's got school spirit. He's seen the shit that I've done. And I made him, before I did it, I made him promise me. I said, Keen, if Miss Haas tries to get rid of Pep Club again, you got to fight as hard as you can to make sure it doesn't. And so the people that I was deciding on for the Pep Club leader, it was Keen, Jack Gerdson, and actually Hudson's sister. Because she's a leader at the school and people respect her. So I thought maybe she would do a good job at it. And I was like, but that's not controversial enough for me to do that. So let me make Keen in charge, because who knows what kind of fuck shit he'll get up to next year. So I look forward to it.
I am too.
It's gonna be fun.
And then after that, I would imagine it's gonna be one of you guys.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
If it stays around.
I don't know who else Keen would pick. Oh, it'll stay around. I'm gonna make sure it stays around.
Good.
If I have to come up from Chapel Hill and kick Laura Haas's ass, I will do it.
It's my favorite club. I feel like it's.
I don't know. I'm kind of biased towards the current events club.
Another great club.
I have a good time with this, guys.
But the thing about the Pep Club is it's not just school spirit. It's like
it's almost a community-ish.
It's a community thing. It's a group chat that everybody at the school is in.
Right.
So so it's a great way that connects people of all grades. I mean, like when I did it as a freshman, some of my best friends, because I was like a pep club leader when I was a freshman, it was like me, Eric Sigmund, the Shirt Singers, Diego Vallada, Nick Michi, guys like that I'm still close with, and it was because of that. I think that's something that makes Summit unique, and I didn't realize that until I got there, but like people of all grade levels are friends. I mean, look at this. I'm going to college next year, and I'm here talking to 2 rising juniors for their podcast. I mean, Summit is awesome because of stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I find myself hanging out with older kids or even younger kids in high school all the time.
We're at Schomburger's house together all the time.
Right. Yeah.
You know, all of us.
We're just hanging out as buds. Like, it's not even...
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's really unique.
Yeah.
Are you glad you went to Summit?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. Wouldn't trade any of my memories from that place for anything.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
And I was able to get into North Carolina. Shout out to the college counseling office and stuff.
That always helps, yeah. Do you have any advice to the viewers about the college, like looking for the college you want and getting into college and all that stuff? Because you got into some pretty good schools.
Be authentic in your essays and stuff like that. Like I mentioned earlier, I wrote my college essay about. I'll get into a couple of them here. Like the main one, my Common App essay about like a challenge you overcame was about playing bar chords on a guitar. So it doesn't have to be some lofty thing, or it doesn't have to be some sob story or something like that. Like it can be, that was a challenge that was in my life, and I found a solution for it, and that's what I wrote about. So just as long as it's authentic, as long as what you write about is authentic, and then also getting involved. Make sure you're involved with as many different things as you can. Well, I shouldn't say as many different things as you can. Get involved with some shit that makes you happy, that you really believe in, and then that goes on your resume. And then if you write essays about that stuff that you're involved in, it carries a lot more weight if it's something you really care about. And then, and again, like the idea of being yourself. One of the essays that I wrote for Georgia, and I got into Georgia, my essay for the University of Georgia, because they weren't on the Common Apps, my main essay for Georgia was about going to a bar in Mount Adams as a junior in high school. So, be authentic. That's my advice when it comes to college. And when you pick a college, go somewhere that feels like home. North Carolina felt like home to me, or Summit, I should say. It felt like home, because Summit became my home over the past 4 years. And when I went there, the school spirit, just the pride that everybody had in that community and in that school, it made me feel like I was at home. I felt, there's no other way to put it other than I felt at home. So
makes sense.
That's my advice when it comes to college.
I've been thinking a lot about like college application process recently, because I've been going with my sister to college visits and stuff. And like my dad put it in a really good way. He's like, wherever you go to college is the best place for you, so just don't get all caught up in it.
Shout out to Andy Rich for that one. That is really good advice. I mean, and so I always came back to this because North Carolina is one of I applied early action, but their early action decision date was late. So I most of the places I'd heard back from by the time I got into North Carolina, and I was worried I wasn't going to get in because it's so difficult. So I'm thinking, if I don't get into North Carolina, that's fine, because I'll have an experience at Georgia or Florida or Michigan that I won't be able to have at North Carolina. So while I might be giving something up, I'm gaining something that I couldn't have at North Carolina. So that's another, I challenge you all, younger listeners, to think in that manner and be like, okay, so, this might not be what I envisioned for myself, but I'm getting something that I wouldn't have gotten if I went to this place. So it's like...
staying positive and stuff.
Yeah, it's people face trade-offs, which is one of like the base principles of economics, because economics isn't really a study of the economy. It is, and I sound like a dumbass now that I said economics isn't a study of the economy, but it comes from like the Greek word for household. So it's a study of like the definition. The Webster's definition would be like a study of households and how they allocate their scarce resources in the market. But it's like economic thought can be applied to so many different, aspects of life. So if you look at the economics of choosing a college, return on investment is the obvious economic thing. Like, if I'm paying this much, how much can I expect to be making 5, 10, 15 years out of college? So you look at data. But there's the economics of opportunity cost. If you don't go here, you're giving up this, but you're gaining this. So that's a good way to make the decision of where you're going to go. Like, what am I giving up to gain this? And you want to give up the least amount to gain the most you can, if that makes sense. Like if, and it's the idea of comparative advantage. So it's like a country with a comparative advantage in producing silk would produce silk rather than rice. Like maybe they could produce more rice than they could produce silk, but they have to give up less rice to produce more silk, whereas some other place would have to give up producing less rice to produce this much silk. So they'll produce rice and the other one will produce silk, and they'll be able to trade with each other, and everybody wins. So, that's the way I look at it. I was very, obviously I would have been fucking crushed if I didn't get into UNC. That's what I've wanted to do for a very long time. But I to mentally prepare myself for the possibility that I wasn't going to get in, that's what I did. I looked at it from like an economic standpoint. So
makes sense. Yeah, well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys. I had a great time talking with you.
I mean, it was awesome. Do you have any closing remarks? Any special shout-outs you want to make?
I don't know. Stay in school, kids. Don't do drugs. Don't do most drugs. There are some maybe out there that aren't that bad. Just wait till you graduate from like college or professional school or something. Wait till you've established yourself before you start fucking with that. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me on, guys. I had a great time talking with you.
Oh yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah, and I think this podcast is going to be a great success. So,
Thank you. We're working hard.
I can tell. I mean, you guys, you listeners, you should see this. I got a great setup here, and I know it's only going to get better. There's beautiful podcasting equipment down here. I feel like I'm at Joe Rogan's place or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out Austin Lauer for the equipment.
Yes.
Yep.
Shout out Austin Lauer, Villa Boy, for the equipment. So.
That's basically, he made it happen.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble. And if you two will ever have me back at some point, I'd be happy to come back on the show.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely love talking with you guys. All kinds of stuff we can talk about. I feel like we just scratched the surface today.
Oh, yeah. It was super fun. All right, this is the Chosen Ones podcast signing off.
See ya.
See you guys.